Today with Splinter Cell Remake, we can use a lot more of the rendering and processing power to create some really compelling and detailed settings, and also spend some of that processing power towards our AI processing between the different AI archetypes as well. We're going to have to try to simulate the different kind of behaviors and reactions and ways of moving. Obviously, a special forces soldier will be better trained. They're going to breach differently or kind of enter rooms differently to something like just a regular security guard would, for example.
And with Snowdrop, we now have the tools to be able to produce some of this stuff, right? We have advanced lighting in the form of ray trace global illumination, which gives you much more realistic lighting effects, like light transference from different objects onto different materials. And on the audio side, we can also have much better audio simulations. We can have audio occlusion where the sounds will get absorbed by different material types. You can have sound bouncing through a window to you around in the corridor. So a much more realistic audio setting as well.
Yeah, we can really improve the AI engagement, right? Like how they are reacting, what they're reacting to. With all of that, we can make improvements to the cat and mouse gameplay between Sam and the enemies, right? Especially with our enemies behaving like trained professionals.
With Splinter Cell Remake, animation is a big focus for us. Some of those interrogations back in the day with the facial animation, there's a lot we can obviously do 20 years in the future from that as well.
Changed since then.
So obviously animation is an area of tech as well. We can really push for a game like Splinter Cell. What does Sam look like? What does he feel like when he's moving in these environments, when he's taking cover, when he's kind of crouching under things, doing the pipe movements or the split jumps or the takedowns or the interrogations. There's so much in there that relies on the animation quality and that tech-driven kind of animation system, just making you feel like you're in that space and part of that experience.
Yeah, and we have the capability to really dive deep on that animation now on the tech side. The animation is definitely one of those big focuses that the original games did so well. We want to do that justice.
The level design in the original Splinter Cell obviously was a little bit more kind of linear in the beginning, and then over the course of the franchise, it tended to open up a little bit more.
Right. You can see the evolution of the level design over the franchise. So you compare, say, in the original Splinter Cell, the police station level, the policey streets. The player's kind of navigating, through these tight corridors, through this very designer-oriented path, going up a ladder, up a scaffolding, down a zip line, through a vent, all to go forward. The player rarely had options on how to proceed. In Chaos Theory, there's the bank level, one of the most favorite levels. Yeah, my favorite level in the Splinter Cell franchise. There are multiple ways to enter the level and then multiple ways to proceed through the bank itself. You're doing this heist, you need to sneak in. There's just security guards that are kind of like patrolling around through the night. And you can either bust through the front door with, guns blazing, or you can kind of go around the side, get up to the rooftop and do this really cool rappel into the bank lobby.
A lot of options there as well, right?
Exactly. And it just gives the player this breadth of options to proceed through this non-linear layout.
Yeah, and obviously Splinter Cell is not an open world simulation or anything like that, and we need to make sure that we're providing the right experience.
Right, we want to bring back those level design principles from Chaos Theory to the original Splinter Cell.
Absolutely, yeah.
The original Splinter Cell really embraced that ghost play style, right? That idea that you're not just going around shooting, every enemy in the face, leaving a ton of bodies around. It was more about making sure that you're completing this objective in a very professional way, where the enemy barely even knows you've ever been there.
And that really speaks to the fantasy of the character and also the organization, right? The original Splinter Cell was about the formation of Third Echelon. And they're an organization that is solving really complex global problems, but no one should ever know they were there.
I think sense of mastery also, if we're talking about perfectionism in the game, is something that's really important. We even would like for the remake to take that a step further. We would like to make sure that the entire game playable from beginning to end without a single kill, if at all possible. So that's something that's important for us as well. And by the way, I do just want to point out I have not 100%ed Bathhouse. Just for the record, I am sorry. I will work on it and I will do better.
It's a very hard level.
It is a very hard level. It's almost like it's a benchmark, I think, in many ways.
And a lot of that comes together in the original Splinter Cell's alarm state system, right? This was meant to test the player and really show what their progress in the mission. but it was a bit harsh. The first alarm would, the enemies would start wearing vests. The second alarm, they'd start having helmets on. And then if you mess up 3 times, the mission just instantly fails. Like Lambert would be like, "Good Lord, Fisher, what are you doing, Sam?"
My God, Fisher, have you gone insane? The mission's over.
We want to scale that back a bit in the remake, and we want to give the player a few more opportunities to de-escalate some of those situations, right? Obviously, stealth is an extremely important pillar for us, and we aim to incorporate modern design philosophies, improving the minute-to-minute stealth gameplay that was so special in the original.
So Sam, being the ultimate covert field agent, he has an enormous array of tools and abilities, gadgets, and movements at his disposal. And with all of those, they aim to create these moments of tension by, you know that there's an enemy nearby, you know that there's a threat coming around the corner, and he has these tools in his kind of toolbox that he can use to react to that stuff at a split second. If there's an enemy that's coming kind of around the corner that you didn't spot in time, he can do these split jumps, get up high, and kind of avoid contact. He can plan ahead by looking under doorways and kind of using these tools to kind of understand where the threats and that sort of things are. So we want to create these moments of tension that the player will need to use those tools and gadgets to react to. We have some exciting things coming up as well with Splinter Cell. There's an animated series that's being worked on with our friends at Netflix, as well as the remake itself, which of course we know because we're all working on that, which is pretty cool. It's not simply a remaster, it's being built from the ground up. We get to do all the content from scratch, fresh and ready to go.
Yeah, we're aiming to create this top-tier remake and push quality as much as possible. This should help us set a good foundation for the franchise going forward.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of great posts from the community. We read the open letter that was on the subreddit. We see all of the other posts on the various socials, and it's really energizing us to keep going.
And obviously with a remake, 20 years later, we can look back at the plot, the characters, and the overall story of the original game, make some improvements, things that might not have aged particularly well, small things, but the core of the story, the core of the experience will remain as it was in the original game.
We've also been exploring new and innovative tech and ideas, as well as features and elements from the other Splinter Cell titles.
We're very early in production. We're still prototyping. We don't want to rush anything. We want to make sure that we absolutely nail the game. We actually do everything in the right way and produce an absolutely stellar quality experience. And we will be going dark for a little while so we can focus on making the absolute best game possible. So that wraps it up for us. Thank you for joining.